Hey, hope you're having a fantastic day, and let's talk about my April wrap-up. Now, I read 12 books in the month of April, and technically, I'm going to put a caveat to that. I'm going to say 12.75 because I did almost finish one book, and we'll kind of talk about it, but I'm not going to give you all the deets on the last and final book, but I'll give you my initial thoughts and what I'm loving, because I am almost done with it, but I was just like, no, I just didn't have quite enough time to finish it up before the end of April. Oh my, I will finish it in May, but I did not get to finish it in April. There we go. I had a really good reading month. I had, I think, one romance. I've got lots of fantasy in here. I've got some cozy fantasy, and I had a sci-fi book. It was pretty well-rounded, I think, of a month, but I had some really good reads this month. There's a few, misses almost, but, not, so hard misses that, I had a DNF or anything, but I think I had a really good month. So let's just get into it. First off, let's start with Carl's Doomsday Scenario. Now, this is the second in the Carl's Dungeon Crawler series. I believe that's what it's called, and I enjoyed it. So now, if you're following along, if you've never heard of what Dungeon Crawler Carl is about, it is about pretty much Earth ends up getting flattened, aliens kind of take over, and anybody who is left alive, they can either try and live out on the flattened surface, or they have to go into this game show type Hunger Games vibe, right? That's just what it has to do. Carl ends up going into this labyrinth and game show, and every time you go through these books, you go into a different part of the labyrinth and you go up a level. And so we're kind of following Carl around with his cat, Princess Donut, and it's really funny. It's a really fun twist on sci-fi, and it's also got really interesting moral themes almost sometimes, and I really enjoy that. But going into book 2, he's now moved up a few levels, and this one I think was really integral to the part of the story. So it's said very early on, I promise this is not a spoiler, in what's it, level 3? Yeah, level 3, you get to change your form if you wish. So you could be, again, changing your form, you could do whatever you want, but it's permanent. But also, you want all your ratings to go up because you want to make sure you have enough money. Just like in the Hunger Games, right? You want to make sure you have money and sponsors and things like that, right? But what Carl ends up choosing is really interesting because it's not something I would have picked, but I think that's, not that doesn't play a huge role in the book, in book 2, but I think it's going to be a really big role towards the end of the series. I don't know, something about that, just one of those tidbits where I'm like, that seems really interesting. But anyway, we follow Carl along. He goes through level 3, and things, of course, start to amp up, right? There's lots of battles, and we're starting to see a little bit more of the alien side of things, and the, I don't know what you call it, the lordship over the planet and things like that, how that's kind of coming to be, and why they started invading and things like that. It's interesting. I will say I don't think I loved this book as much as the first Dungeon Crawler Carl. But again, this is partly my preference because there was a bit of a circus theme towards the beginning of this book, and I don't like circus. I don't like anything to do with that, so I was not a big fan, but it really picked up towards the second half of the book, and I enjoyed that. And again, it's funny, it's silly, you literally laugh out loud during this book, and you have a good time whilst doing it, and that's the greatest part, right? That's the funnest part of doing it all. But I really enjoyed this book. I definitely suggest this series to a lot of people, so if you're into some sci-fi, or even if you're unsure if you even like it, or you don't even know if you like sci-fi, it's not sci-fi you can't understand what's going on. It's very pretty much plainly spoken about. It's a video game RPG type stuff, and it's fun. I really enjoy it. I would give this 4.5. Yeah, 4.5 stars. I enjoyed it. It was not as good as the first book, but I see the potential there, and I will definitely be continuing on in the series. Now, the next book I read is Violet Fistaway Is Not a Villain Anymore, and this was so cute. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. It was unexpected, to say the least. First of all, the cover is just gorgeous. You can't tell me the cover is not absolutely beautiful, right? But this follows Violet Fistaway, obviously, as our main character, and she pretty much grows up as underneath an evil mastermind in an Lord Sorcerer, or whatever you want to call it, and he ends up getting offed, and so now she's kind of well, what do I do with my life now? And she's kind of given the opportunity to become good. She's well, I've never done that before, so I might as well do that. So she moves into this small town called Dragon's Rest, and she tries to set up her life. She owns, or rents half out of space where it's a failing apothecary on one side, and then she's trying to open a flower shop. And it's really interesting how it kind of comes about. There's a little bit of a romance in it, and it kind of follows along just Violet, how just kind of trying to get her stuff together, and her magic's kind of gone awry, but then old people from her old life and her villainy days start kind of popping up and trying to mess with her, and maybe mess with her small town that she's in, and expose who she really is. And it's It's really cute. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. This is very much the Spell Shop meets Assistant to the Villain vibes. If you've read either of those books, you're going to love this one. I would say this was a solid 3.5 stars. Now, was it like the best book I've ever read? No. The writing style was pretty easy to get along. But it was just good. It wasn't like jaw gripping. I had to turn the page, but I still enjoyed. I apologize. That was my dryer going off. I forgot I had that on. Anyway, though, I really enjoyed this book. It was a fun story, and I had a really good time. Like, I would read this again. Just because it's 3.5 stars does not mean it's a bad book. This was a really, really good, enjoyable book that I would read again and again. And it was fun. It was fun. It was cute. I really liked, Bartleby? That sounds right, Bartleby. That is this plant right here. You see the little knife? He's like a murderous little villainy plant because of course she was with the villain. It's cute and it's fun and I enjoyed it and I would highly recommend for you to read it. I then read The Cruel Prince and the Wicked King. Now it's only the first 2 books in the series. It is a finished trilogy. And so this is a very popular series. If you've never heard of it, I would be surprised, but I've heard of it for a really long time. Funny enough, that I think this is kind of like my era of reading too. Like would have been really popular when it first came out, but I never read it. I'm not exactly sure why I didn't read it. And since then, it's so popular, I've been so worried about reading it, right? But it was so good. It was, I still have to read the 3rd book, but I literally read these 2 books because they're pretty short reads. I think they're around 300 pages each. I read them both within 24 hours, like literally like on the same day within 24 hours. It was fantastic. So it follows along our main character and she is a human. So pretty much her parents get offed by a fae, but the fae takes her and her sisters in and takes them back to fairyland, and that's how she grows up. And she grows up with like old school style fae. The fae are super old and mean to her, and she has to like learn how to fight and things like that, and it's very interesting, right? But we're kind of following her along and how things go, and there's obviously this cruel prince that is super, super evil to her. There's a lot of politics in this, a small smidgen of romance, but it's good. Like, these are page turners, absolute page turners, like, let me tell you. And it's like, it really is, it keeps you on your toes, you don't know what's happening, and it's so good. Like, once you think you know what's happening, you're about to get slapped and be like, nope, just kidding. Like, it's like, that's how good it is. And like the cruelness of the fae. And I really like how her as a human, she like, even though she's not fae, she kind of like emboldens herself that way. Because again, that's how she grew up. Like, that's how she has to survive in this world. And it's just the treachery, the villainy, like the twists and turns. It's so good. Oh, it's so good. Like, I would have finished the 3rd book, but I had moved on to another book and I just haven't come back to it. So I'll get back to that in the month of May. But I am like shocked how good this book is. Like, I love Zodiac Academy. Like, that's one of my all-time favorite book series. This is very similar vibes to a certain degree about that. Like, especially like the ruthlessness of the fae. So if you like Zodiac Academy, try The Cruel Prince. And if you like The Cruel Prince, you will like Zodiac Academy book series. Like, it so good. So many good things out of this book. Like, I'm excited to read the 3rd book. I'd be interested to go into, I think there's, I don't know if it's a sort of spin-off, but like maybe a continuation of like different characters in this book series. And I really enjoyed it. I would give this 4.5 stars. It was a great time. I enjoyed it. This was really a page turner. I love the politics. I love the ruthlessness of the fae. And I like our main character, even though sometimes she like kind of annoyed me. And again, this is a YA. So me and YA don't always mix well. It kind of depends, because some YA is almost like too childish for me, but then there's other YA books that are like perfect for me. But again, there's like yearning in this one and like, oh my gosh, he touched my hand. Love that, right? Like, love that. But I thoroughly enjoyed this. I'm excited to get into the 3rd book. And I have nothing but good things to say about this. So if you have not read it, even though it is a very popular series, it's worth the read. You will not forget it at all. It's worth it. The next big old mamma jamma I've got here is Malice by John Gwynne. This is the Faithful in the Fallen series, book 1. This is a heavy chonker book. And again, I have read his first No, this is his first debut fantasy series, but I read his other book series that I did enjoy. But John Gwynne is a masterful writer. That's all I gotta say. I really enjoyed the writing style. I will say this book really took a while to get started for me. It was like, it really took about until the halfway mark until things really started to happen, and I was like, okay, I'm in it now. It was a little slow, and I kind of struggled with that, but like the ending more than made up for that, and I understand why, because you're really going through this series, or going through this book, and like getting attached to so many people, and there are a lot of characters. Or well, let me tell you what the book is even about, right? So the world is broken, okay? 1,000 years before, there was a big battle, and the gods have now left them, and all the humans were banished, and they have to live on these certain lands, and there used to be really lots of magic and intrigue, and there's lots of giants, and they have these worms and like other mythical creatures, right? And so fast forward now 1,000 years into the normal daytime in this book, they know the gods have left them. There's still some who do still pray to the gods, but a lot of them don't believe in it. And now giants are kind of returning, and they've got these white worms, I call them, which are like huge basilisk snakes is the only way to describe them. And things are just happening. There's set to be a prophecy about these 2 boys, and there's just a lot going on. And it's pretty much a lot of these kingdoms are just unsure of what to do and how to go from there. And there is technically like a high king, but again, that was from thousands of years ago. And there's so much intrigue, and like not even, there is a little treachery in this, of course, but the politics and like how everything comes about is super, super intriguing. And I love all of the characters, because like as much as it was so slow in the beginning, because this book spans about like 2-ish years, right, and following these characters, it really gives so much attention to detail as to how the characters are and like the thought processes of these characters, which I think is so integral for how these characters develop. And I like that. I really like I am so attached to these characters. Like these characters are my friends. Like I want to know what happens to them. And I love that. And I love the way he writes really strong women characters. And because like it's always hit or miss in fantasy books, right? Like either they're like, oh, they're just home takers, they don't do anything. Well, these are kind of like shield maiden Viking-esque. There is some Scottish vibes in this book, and I really like how he like envisions and talks about them. And the biggest thing I think I really like and take away from this book is the fighting scenes. I understand them. And a lot of the more higher fantasy or epic fantasy books, like they can get very confusing, right? Like it's like, what just happening? I'm like, I know this dude is fighting this dude, but like I don't know what's happening. I know exactly what's happening this week. I know where that knife is getting placed. I know who's cutting who's getting sliced and diced. Like I get it, right? And I love that in this book. It's easy to understand, but it's so interesting of a concept. But pretty much we're just following them along, and this book ends on going on a quest, and I love a quest, so I'm excited to go into the next book. It definitely is a commitment because it's pretty thick, but I really enjoyed the character building. Even though it was a little slow in the beginning, like I understand why, because you needed to understand the characters and like their morals and who they are as people to understand why they're now making the choices towards the end of the book and like how they're being and becoming. And I loved it. Oh, I love that so much. So good. Highly recommend this if you're into epic fantasy. Again, Scottish Viking vibes, world is broken, and there's a bit of a prophecy kind of going on, and I really enjoy it, and I would definitely recommend it. The House Witch. Now, I had such good intentions with this book, but it just wasn't it. So this book is about our main character, who is a witch, and he goes and becomes like the royal chef to one of the kingdoms, right? And the kingdoms are kind of in peril. There's like an impending civil war or like battle with another civilization kind of going on. There's a huge precipice, but it's very obviously he knows he's a witch, but he's trying to keep that on the wraps, because even though there's not been active witch hunts in like 50 years, like he doesn't believe that. Like people know witches are around, but like they're still very kind of wary of them, and he just doesn't want people to know, right? And we're just kind of chronicling him as he's just kind of figuring out life in this new life and like working for the royal household. And it's very interesting. I like his friend, our main character's name is Finn. I like his character. I really enjoy his power as a house witch. Like he's to protect the home, he's to make it comfortable and make you feel good, and the bigger the home that he provides for, the more his powers grow. So obviously when he's working in a castle, like his powers are getting quite big. And it's very interesting how it all kind of comes about, because of course like he's a very good cook, and like how he like manipulates things around him is very interesting, and he's very good at like protecting young women because his dad was like a rotten no good man, and there's lots of tension there. But we just kind of follow Finn around. There is a little bit of a romance to it. I feel like there's just almost too many themes in this book and especially for it to be cozy fantasy, and I didn't realize this was a book series either. I thought it was just like a one book in the series and the rest are interconnected, and that's not what this book is about. But it's just, I don't know, I enjoyed it. I'd say maybe 3 stars. I didn't like love it. I'm unsure if I want to continue on in the series, but it's just, I don't know. I feel like there was too many themes all in one book, and maybe the second book kind of helps clear that up a little bit, but it's just not, I don't know if it's really my jam. Like, I really would have expected it to be my jam, but it just, I don't know. I enjoyed it to a certain degree. There's just a lot of themes, but it was okay. Half a Soul. Beautifully done book. Beautifully done book. I hate the cover, but beautifully done book. This was an easy 5-star read. The writing style is just beautiful. And the love story, again, the yearning, like, he touched my hand. Loved that. Like, so pretty much what happens, our main character, her name is Theodora, but she goes by Dora. I don't like that. All I picture is Dora the Explorer, okay? And, like, I know that's a me thing, but I just, like, of all the things, like, that's how you go with is Dora. Anyway, scratch that if you want, but I'm just like, that's one thing I can't get past in this book. It's still a 5-star read, but I can't get past it. Anyway, we follow Dora along. When she was young, her soul was starting to be taken by a fae, but he was interrupted, so that's why she only has half a soul. So she doesn't feel things in the same way we all do normally, right? She can feel things on, like, the long end of the spectrum, but she just doesn't really have any emotions, kind of, period. And she really has to kind of, like, emulate herself into, like, society standards and things. Like, she doesn't know how to act right, and she just kind of says what's on her mind, and she doesn't really feel happiness or sadness. She's just kind of blah, right? But anyway, it kind of follows her along, and her cousin, like, they grew up together because Dora's parents are dead, and, like, the aunt has taken her on and takes care of her, and the aunt does not treat her very well. I have beef with the aunt, but anyway. The aunt wants to get the cousin married off, and so they end up all going to London, and there is a Lord Sorcerer in this world, right? And they, like, help keep out the fae and other things and wars, things like that, because this is set in UK and, like, Bridgerton-esque vibes, right? And so we kind of go along, and Dora, I can't even, what is going on? Dora ends up somehow meeting this Lord Sorcerer, and it comes about, like, what's wrong with her, because of course it's kept on, like, a down low, like, that she only has half a soul, but since he's a Lord Sorcerer, she kind of, like, explains him what's happened, and he kind of, like, vows to kind of help her out, and, like, romance ensues from there. And it's a really funny, silly, goofy book, but it still has some very serious themes in it that I really enjoy. But it's really funny how, like, the Bridgerton-esque vibes come about, because during this time, like, of course, Dora doesn't want to get married because she only has half a soul, and again, like, she doesn't know what love is, right? She doesn't really feel anything. And the Lord Sorcerer's friend, Lord Albert, yeah, that sounds right, Lord Albert, also doesn't want to get married, but, like, of course, the aunt and, like, Lord Albert's mom are like, oh, they would be such a good match, let's put them together, until they, like, kind of like a fake dating almost thing going on. And then in this story, there's also, like, a sickness going on, and a lot of, like, young girls are dying in these work factories. And so Dora kind of helps Lord Sorcerer and Albert, who's a physician, kind of figure out what's going on, and it kind of pursues from there. And it's really interesting, a story. I will stand by Dora, as much as she only has half a soul and she doesn't feel anything, she has more compassion and more life and kindness than most people do with a full soul, and I like full-heartedly believe that. And it's such a sweet story, in the writing style, it just engrosses you. Like, I read that book in less than 24 hours. Like, it was, like, I consumed it because I loved the writing, and it was so easy to read, but you were just immersed. It was like you were right there with the characters, and I love that. So I have nothing but good things to say about this book, other than I hate the cover, and I hate that they call her Dora, but, like, that's just a personal thing, right? This is a personal thing. That's, like, nothing to do with the actual book, right? But I love the story. Highly suggest it. Cozy fantasy, but it's got a little bit higher themes. It's not spicy at all, and it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. Blind Date with a Werewolf by Patricia Briggs. Now, Patricia Briggs is one of my all-time favorite authors. She wrote the Mercy Thompson series, which is, I will say, one of the most underrated werewolf series I have ever heard. I don't know why people don't talk about it. It is an older series, but she's still coming out with books in it, and it's so freaking good. Anyway, this is a bit of a spin-off to this. So, Blind Date with a Werewolf follows the werewolf Asil. He's like a side character in one of the other books here. Either he's technically in the Alpha and Omega series she also writes, but he's kind of shows up a few times in the Mercy Thompson series as well. But anyway, this follows Asil, and he's a super old werewolf, right? He's like 1,300 years old, and he's kind of cynical. He doesn't really want to be alive anymore. He has a lot of trouble with his inner wolf in this series. Of course, there's lots of magic and things in this world as well. But his friends kind of in his pack set him up on all these blind dates, and it's quite hilarious because they're like vampiresonly.com or cat lovers galore or something like the wildest dates to set this man up on a date for. It's so silly. It's funny, and I enjoyed that aspect. This was not like my favorite book of the series, but it was silly and goofy, and I enjoyed it. I'd say maybe 3.5 stars, and just kind of follows Asil around on these dates, and they all end up having this supernatural aspect and like pretty much dates from hell. And it's really funny because like friends all have a betting pool as to how many dates he's going to make it through, because he has got 5 dates he has to get through, and he has to stay with them, like the rules are, he has to stay with them at least for 2 hours. Nobody can run around crying or screaming. There can be no death, and it's so funny. I enjoy it. It's silly. It's goofy. You technically can read this as a standalone, but I think you would get more out of the story if you did read the Mercy Thompson series or the Alpha and Omega series. But again, I don't think that's necessary to understand a lot of the story, but it's silly, it's goofy, I enjoyed it. I had a fun time. This was not, like, it has a couple, of course, more serious supernatural things in it, but like the way, because of course, Asil is very good looking, right? And he knows it, and he's just like, everybody's like always stunned because he's like model-esque, right? And he's just like, I know, and it's really funny how he is as a character and how that ensues, and like how he ends up going about all these dates are really, really fun because he views this as a challenge. And I don't know, I can't say enough good things about this book. Patricia Briggs' writings are always good, and I had a good time. I think you would have a good time. Read it. Paladin's Grace. Now, I really enjoyed this book. It was fun, but I will say just a little caveat, I do not think this book series is for me, okay? Like, I don't think it was a bad book at all. I would still give this like a 4.5 stars. I enjoyed this book. But I don't think this is the writing and author for me. And like, I can acknowledge that, right? But anyway, and I still think it's a good book, even though it was not my thing, right? But pretty much, you follow along, there are these paladins, and their god has died. And like, I don't remember exactly how he died, but pretty much he dies. We now fast forward like 3 or 5 years later, and we're following our main paladin, Stephen. And they were worked for the god of steel. That sounds right. So they were pretty much warriors, think Witcher-esque vibes, like they killed lots of demons and things like that. And so now that their god is gone, there's a lot of them that kind of unfortunately off themselves because like they don't know what to do with their lives. Like, again, their whole religious system is gone, right? But there's another temple and gods that have taken them in, the temple of the White Rat, and they're like complete opposites, right? They're complete like peace, prosperity, longevity, like good health, things like that, like very health version versus like kill and glory kind of thing is what they were on. But they take these paladins in, and they clothe them, and they take care of them, and they're like, we just kind of need you as glorified bodyguards. It's pretty much what they do. And it just kind of follows our main character Stephen around, and he ends up kind of with our female main character witnessing an assassination attempt and a murder, and things kind of ensue from there. And it's really enjoyable. I like Stephen as a main character. I do really enjoy our female main character too. I don't remember what her name is off the top of my head. But I really love the inner monologues in the story. But there is kind of like a subplot that's going on in the story. So obviously they've noticed this like attempted murder and whatever it's going on. And so they're thrust into this like murder mystery, right? But then in the background, there's also like somebody who keeps chopping off a bunch of heads. And they keep finding the heads, but they can't find the bodies. And so I'm just gonna be honest, the creature or whatever person being, whatever it ends up being, because I don't think it's necessarily revealed in this book, which is, again, I promise that's not a spoiler, not necessarily revealed in this book to a certain degree. I think it continues on in the rest of the series. But it's terrifying. I am a whiny baby about scary stuff. I don't like horror stuff. I like spooky season. I don't like the spooky aspect of that season, right? Like, I like funny stuff. I don't like the hardcore stuff, and it's like this creature being thing is very terrifying to me, and I'm not gonna lie, it gave me nightmares the night that I read this book, and I don't like that. That's the only reason I'm like, I knew T. King Fisher, the author of this book, had a little bit, like, wrote more horror to a certain degree, but like, I don't know, it's supposed to be, like, this is advertised as a cozy fantasy book, and I did not think this was going to be that. Like, I knew murder mystery was maybe a little outside of my vibes and things like that, but like that little aspect was just not for me, and I know that's going to continue on in the books. I'm like, nope, I'm good, thank you. But it was a really good, enjoyable book. I liked the character growth. I liked the storyline, and I still had a good time. I would still label this book as a 4.5 stars. I just don't think this book is personally for me. I will not be continuing on in the series, but I would still suggest this to a lot of people. It was a little too scary for me. And again, it wasn't even that bad either. It's not like, oh my gosh, like I'm like gripping my sheets even though I had nightmares. I'm just a little baby about that. But it was just like that one little aspect that I didn't enjoy, that I know if it's going to continue to come up in other books, which I believe it does, I know I'm not going to like that. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, because it's really, in all reality, it's truly not that scary. But to me, I don't enjoy that part. So whatever, right? But I enjoyed it. I would still suggest to check it out. It's a fun, again, it still is a cozy fantasy, but it's got like a murder mystery vibe to it. And if you're into that, you're gonna like this book. And so I would highly suggest it still to others, just not for me, right? Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. Okay. I've never read Brandon Sanderson before. I was really concerned on where to start with him. And this happened to pop in my Libby app, and I was like, you know what? Let's get into it. And I loved this book. I would still give it a 4.5 stars. I loved it. I enjoyed it. It was such a fun story. Tress, our main character, is like, I'm going to say one of my all-time favorite female main characters. Like, I really enjoyed the story. So it kind of follows Tress along. They're on a very, very small island, and they're not allowed to leave the island, right? Like, she's born and bred on this island. She's like 17, 18 years old. She's very poor. She ends up falling in love with the Duke's son, and love kind of ensues from there. But the Duke ends up finding out like his son is obviously like trying to like get with Tress, who's a very poor and a window washer, things like that. And he's like, oh no son, you were of high lineage. We're gonna marry you off. But his son Charlie is just like, no dad, I love her, I'm gonna marry her. And so they end up going on this voyage because he like the Duke takes him off and goes into like the seas, and the seas are not like water, right? The seas are made of spores, and like if you get these spores on you, pretty much like in the video game or the like movie show or TV show The Last of Us, like how all the spores get into you and they like create these weird nasty creatures and things like that, like you die, like any type of moisture. So it's very interesting how that comes about like in the story. It's kind of got a little bit of a sci-fi aspect in this book, even though it's more of a cozy fantasy vibe, but it's interesting. It's like a good twist and like mix of it all. I think it's done really well. But anyway, so they go out onto these seas, and he's trying to find, you know, his son a princess or whatever to marry, and he's like, no, I love Tress, I'm going to make them like never fall in love with me. Well, during this voyage, something happens and Charlie is lost, right? And he's taken, or something of that sort happens, and Tress has been waiting for a long time for him, and she's like, you know what, I'm gonna go save him. And so, again, she's not supposed to get off the island. They're not allowed to leave the island. So she kind of has to, like, smuggle her way off. And it's very interesting how it all comes about. And, like, her character development through the whole thing is super, super interesting. It's got really fun action. I love a lot of the side characters. Like, they're really fun and enjoyable characters. And, like, I can't say enough good things about this book. Like, I really had a good time from start to finish. There's a few aspects, I will say, of, like, the sci-fi-ness, which I always have with certain sci-fi books. That was a little confusing to me, but again, it wasn't that big a deal, and again, it was mostly cozy fantasy vibes, and I loved it. I love the storyline. I love Tress as a character. I love the build-up. I love the twist at the end that I was not expecting, and it was really all time a fantastic book. I would suggest anybody to read this book, and it was just so good. Again, this is my first time reading Brandon Sanderson. This is in the Cosmere universe, if I am correct, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this book. I had so much fun with this book. I can't say enough good things. Read it. All right, our last romancy book is Temple of Swoon. Now, I feel like I have seen this a few times in like Barnes & Noble, a few things. So when I went to the library and I saw this, I'm like, snag it. And it was so cute. It was, of course, I'm doing kind of like a soft launch into romance because we're slowly getting to warmer weather, excuse me. And of course, summer's coming around the corner. And to kind of help break up some of the heavier fantasies that I was reading, I picked this up, and it was cute. I did not realize this is book 2 of this series. What is this? Raiders of the Lost Heart is a series, and I did not realize this is book 2, not book 1, but it's an interconnected standalone, and it's just different couples, right? And after reading this, and it really doesn't affect the rest of the stories. Obviously, you know, like who gets together at the end, right? But anyway, it was really enjoyable. It was super cute. Like, it wasn't like the best book I've ever read in the world. I'd say maybe a 3-star book. So it follows our main character, Mary. She's an archaeologist, and she is on the hunt and going on this dig in Mexico or somewhere down in South America for the lost city of the moon. And it's like a big deal, right? Because it's a lot of hush-hush. Nobody's supposed to know. Well, on the way there, she meets our other main character, Raphael, also our love interest. And he has some type of connection. Oh, Brazil. That's it. They're in Brazil. Excuse me. To Brazil, and like this lost city of the moon, he's said to be like a descendant of these people, and like he's supposed to protect it at all cost, right? Things kind of ensue from there because he ends up meeting Miri before they even know they're on like the same archaeological team, because Raphael is a journalist and photographer kind of thing, and it kind of, they didn't realize that like they were going to work together, and then things ensue. Of course, they end up working together, and he's doing everything in his power to stop the discovery of this because they want to save the lost city of the moon and like people not read it and things like that. But of course she is just all about the science, and she just wants to share it with the world and things like that, and things kind of ensue from there. There is, I will say, I didn't love, in the beginning it was a little insta-lovey, like a little bit, not like terribly so, but just a little insta-lovey. And again, that's not my favorite thing, but like as it went about, like I really enjoyed this book. I think it was a really cute love story. I really like Miri as a main character because she's silly and she's just goofy, and I like that. She's not really scared of like who she is, but she's also just nervous because she's just like, well, she doesn't realize like how beautiful she is and things like that, and like she, I don't know, it's really cute. I like the storyline. I like how it kind of goes about, and it's a fun, silly, goofy, good time. And like I knew that's all I was expecting in this book. If you're reading the Goodreads reviews, like they kind of tear into this book, and like I knew it wasn't going to be a 5-star read, but this was like a really good palate cleanser book, and I enjoyed it. It was fun, it was silly and goofy. It's like Lara Croft, Indiana Jones, the Mummy vibes, right, all in this book. And it, again, is fun. I enjoyed it. It doesn't have to be a 5-star read to enjoy this book series, but I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it, and I would highly suggest for you to read it too. All right, are you ready? Last book and a half that I have read, and that is the Twisted Throne. And I did start the Tempest Blade. I am like 75% of it. I do have to finish that up, but this is the last duology in the Bridge Kingdom series. Now, the Bridge Kingdom is one of my all-time favorite series, right? And this wraps it all up. So the Bridge Kingdom is set into 2 duologies, and so it's 6 books in total, but each duology like is about a different couple, but it is all interconnected, so you still have to read them all in order. So I did wait because this last book is about Anna. I have waited to read the 5th book, and the 6th book just came out, I think it was April 15th or something like that, like middle of April, like, and so I finally got that in the mail, and I read that. But I waited to read these together because of course they always end on cliffhangers, and like I just had to know what happens. But anyway, in the Bridge Kingdom, we kind of follow along the things that happen. The first book is about Laura and Aaron. And there's a lot of, I love the writing style of Daniel Jensen, like especially from the first duology, the Bridge Kingdom, going into the next to the Inadequate Heir and Endless War, and then into this one, because I think she said it's been like 10 years since she's written this story, like it's been a decade worth of writing these characters. You can really tell, especially at the ending of this book series, like how well developed her writing has gotten. And I really like her. I mean, her writing style was really good before in like the original duology of the Bridge Kingdom anyway, but like how far she's come as a writer, I think you can really tell in this book and the last book, and I really, really love that because it really is flowing a lot better. Not that it wasn't flowing good in the Bridge Kingdom, but like the way it just is done in these is so much better. But anyway, so this one follows along Princess Anna. Now, Princess Anna is the princess and technically heir of the Ithacana Kingdom. Now, Ithacana is like a set of islands, right? And it's in like jungle, Mediterranean type vibes, and they hold the Ithacanan Bridge, and so they do a lot of trade, and they have a really rough life. Like growing up, she's a warrior princess. They have to fight for everything they've ever had. There's constant battle of people wanting to take over the bridge, and there's lots of murder, and so like she's badass. She's an absolute badass. And so she was married off quite young, or like betrothed to the Herondalian prince, which is one of the other kingdoms in the nation. And so she, after the events of all the other books, it kind of is now, she's really upset. She feels she's failed her country because of the series and things that happened in the other books, which I'm not going to explain because I don't want to ruin that. But we kind of follow Anna along as she goes into Herondalian, like where she's supposed to marry the prince, but she ends up falling in love with his brother instead, and things just kind of ensue from there. And let me tell you, this the stories and the intrigues and the politics, because of course she's a warrior princess, and she like obviously knows how to kill men like 1,000 different ways, and she like wears pants. Well, in the Herondelian world, like it's very much like prim proper princesses, like they do needlework, and they like are like men don't listen to them, and so it's like that is not in her world. Like she's a commander and she rules the roost in Ithaca, right? That's not the case here in Herondelia. And it's very interesting to see how she's thrown into this world, and it's kind of like sink or swim. And of course, things ensue, and it's a beautiful story. This is one of those books where you think you know what the hell is going on, and you are absolutely fucking mistaken. And excuse my language, but you are. Like, you are absolutely mistaken, and it's beautiful. Like, this is the book series that breaks your heart, but you're so happy it breaks your heart because it also repairs your heart, and it keeps you on your toes the entire time. Like, because it almost gets to a point where you're like, I have no idea what's going on, but then like all the dots start to connect and you're like, what? And then as we go into the Tempest Blade here, it just blows your mind, right? Because how it all has come together and again connects with all of the other books in the series is insane. And I really like how it's done in this last book here. She does bring in all the other characters of all the other main characters of the other books to help kind of what's going on with Anna and everything like that. And it's just, oh my god, it's so good. Like, I cannot say enough good things about this book series. It's so good. It's one of my favorite. If you take away anything from this video, read the Bridger Kingdom series. You will not be disappointed. This is a fantasy, and it's so good. It will keep you on your toes. There's politics, there's romance, there's war, there's everything you could ever need in a book are in these books, and I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it. I cannot say nothing and anything that I can't say enough good things about these book series, and I love, love, love that. Well, that is it. Those are all the books I read in April. I hope you had a really good time listening to me yap about all the books that I read about. I'd love to know down in the comments what you have been reading in April, or maybe some of your main TBR picks. I feel like a really interesting picks and like wild ride for May, but I think I did really, really good this April. I think there's a lot of good picks. I think there's a lot of good reads. I'm shocked at how many good reads I had, and even though there's some like maybe not my taste, but like I think it worked out. But let me know what you've read down in the comments, and I will see you guys on the next one. Happy reading.